Well, I'm back on the restoration now, and as you can see, I'm well on with it. The engine's rebuilt completely now, carburetor's on, magneto's done, I've done the timing, and I've wired up the electrics, and that was fine. But when I came to do the wiring for the starter motor, something went wrong, and I was blowing fuses and got really confused with the connections to the solenoid and that sort of stuff. So I'll tell you in a moment what happened. Well, actually what happened was it was blowing fuses, and I was chasing the wires around, and I just become lost with it really. So I phoned Phil Pearson, who actually did the original wiring for me, and of course he couldn't do anything from Great Yarmouth over the phone, and he suggested I brought the bike down, and I thought, well, that's okay, I'll take a couple of days out, put the bike in the van and go and have a few days by the seaside. So that's exactly what I did. Well, I got the bike down to Phil and his partner John Edwards. They both had a good look at it, and they couldn't figure out what was wrong. They were blowing fuses, they burnt out the solenoid, and cutting a long story short, it turned out that there was an intermittent fault on the battery. 1 minute it was making a connection on the positive side, and the next minute it would go dead, and it was just basically a faulty battery. But because it was a faulty battery, it confused us over the connections, and that's where we had the blown fuses. But anyway, we've put a new battery on it now, and everything seems to be working fine. And while I was down there, I got a new modern clutch off Phil, and we fitted it there and then, and that's all complete now. I've done away with the old Bsa clutch. But all the chains are on now, and I'm going to take the plug out and turn the engine over on the starter motor, make sure that's still working. Well, I'm just going to do a test start on the starter motor. I've taken the plug out because it's difficult to reach the decompression lever while you're on this side of the bike. Well, as you can see, it's turning over quite well now. Brand new battery on it, fully charged. No problems with that side of the bike at the moment. Well, as you can see, I need to tidy up some of this wiring here. This is the main fuse I've got for the bike side, not for the starter motor. That doesn't have a fuse. And of course it's under the seat, and I've decided I'm going to, well, I've got one of these, a little fuse block, and I'm going to put that into the toolbox so that I can, if I need to, I can change the fuse without having to take the seat off and get at it. So I'll be doing that as a part of this tidying up job here. Well, this is inside the toolbox, and this here is the little fuse block I've fitted in the system. There's two fuses. This one here is for the charging loop for the Optimate charger, that tucks in there, and this one is for the harness on the bike. This little switch here isolates the starter button on the handlebars, because I found out that if it's parked up anywhere and someone decides to press the button on the handlebar, there's a good chance the engine will start. So that isolates the starter button on the handlebars, and it's all wired up and everything's working fine. This is the little solenoid just in here. Well, I'm on with some of the finishing touches now, and this is a spare gearbox shell I've got, and this is the drain off for the gearbox oil, and it works fine. It's a 5/16 by 18 TPI BSW thread, and I'm going to make a new one for the simple reason is that really difficult to get in and out when it's on the bike, and I'm going to make one a little extension on it to make it a bit easier to get in and out. So I've got some hex bar I'm going to make it out of, and hopefully with a bit of ingenuity I'm going to braze in the head of a Allen nut to make it even easier, which I'll show you in a moment. Well, this is the new drain plug I've just made, and little fibre washer pots on there. I'm going to wrap that with PTFE, but to make it more accessible I've that's the old one, by the way, and there's not much to get hold of with your socket when you try to pull them off. They're not very good. But what I've done is I've drilled and tapped the back of that, which allows me to put an Allen key in there. I'm just going to lock this in with some Loctite now, and if the Loctite gives way as I'm trying to pull it out, I can always put a socket over that because it is extended. It's going to be quite easy to do. So I'm going to Loctite this in now and put some PTFE on the end, pop it into the gearbox, fill it with oil and just see how it leaks or doesn't leak. Well, this is the brake arm stop, and it's badly chewed up. I had to cut it off actually. And I'm going to make another one. It's a quarter B26 TPI, and I've got some hexagon bar which is a little bit oversized, but it'll be fine. Well, I've got this finished now. That's the old one, and the threads are badly chewed up. This is the new one. Put a little bit of a polish on the end, and that's stainless. That's another little job done. It's only nut and bolts, but there you go. Well, the old grease nipple was broken off in the brake arm, so I've drilled it out for 5/16 UNF, because I've got a whole bunch of 5/16 UNF grease nipples here, and it fits perfectly. There we go. Just needs to be tightened up. Well, I'm still on with all the bits and pieces now, the finishing touches and things. Unfortunately, I've lost the brake pivot which fits in there to carry the brake lever, and I've noticed there's a taper in there. I'm going to have to make one. There's a taper in there which obviously takes a bit more of the weight than just a straight edge there. So I'm going to make one, and I'll try and reproduce the taper for that there. See how that goes. Well, finally got this finished. Nice chunky washer there. I've polished the end of the bolt, little groove for the grease, and that's a fixed washer. And there's the little taper that locks into the taper on the frame. I've had it on and it's absolutely rock solid, so I'm happy with that. On with the next one. Well, this is the original brake rod off the bike, and it's in a pretty sorry state. There's the other end, and I've got some 1/4 inch stainless bar which I'm going to make a new one from, and I've got some stainless steel round bar which I'll make the thumb turn and the clevis at the end here. So I'll be doing that now. Well, unfortunately I forgot to turn the camera on, but I've machined this bit of stainless steel round bar, and that's the part I'm trying to make. So I've turned it to that shape, and it's been drilled and tapped 1/4 by 26. I just need to cut it off and cut the slot, so I'll be doing that next. Well, I've finally got this brake rod finished now. It's all in stainless. I've replaced this like for like, and here I've put a straight pin through with a split pin holding that in place. And this brake rod here is off an old A65 and Bsa, it's a Bsa one, and Bsa were happy to put a split pin through there, so that should be fine on mine. And it's ready to go back on the bike now. Well, this is the underside of the seat which I've been working on, and as you can see it's a bit manky, but it'll do for now. And these little bolt holes were knackered, and I've drilled them out and tapped them for an M10, and I've put a couple of little studs in. Makes it much easier when you put in the seat, so I'm not trying to find where the bolts go. And I've cut some little flange nuts to go on, so that's an improvement.